Hello, hello, Heal with Gold. I am back and I am so excited to be here with you to bring Nova to you. This was a long time coming, and because of that whole big period that I took time off dealing with my husband's health, we had to push this off. But I really, really believe that everything comes in the exact right time. Hi, Marina. Good evening. I'm so happy to see you. The last few times I couldn't see your comments, but now I'm seeing your comments. And I'm just so happy that we're going to talk about spirituality because it's a dear subject to me. I feel that I'm a very spiritual person. We're going to talk about the difference between spirituality and religion. It's not at all the same thing. You can have somebody who's not religious, but is very spiritual. So we're going to talk about that. And I love that because that's really a thread that unites us all, right? Brings us up because we're spiritual beings, right? We're humans living in a physical world, but we're spiritual beings. So this is super exciting. And I'm just going to bring Nova in, and she's going to introduce herself because this is her forte. This is what she knows to do. She knows to teach through her memberships and her groups. So we're going to learn from her today. I couldn't be more excited. So welcome, Nova, to the group.
Hi, thank you.
Good, Nova, there's a bunch of people here. Guys, say hello. I'll bring your comments on so Nova can see that you're here. Otherwise, we feel like we're talking just to each other, but we're not. We're talking to a group of people. And Nova, I want you to start by introducing yourself, introducing the kind of work that you do. And then I want you to go back and tell us how you got into this. How this became, okay? Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to bottom line it as best as I can. I am a spiritual coach, an author, a speaker, a trainer, a Reiki practitioner, an energy reader, a whole slew of things like that. But essentially, I've been in this personal and spiritual development work for well over a decade, almost 15 years, I think. I wrote a book called Awake and Aligned, How to Navigate the Human Experience as a Spiritual Being, because you're absolutely right. We are, you know, I know the world likes to categorize things as spiritual versus religious, but to me, spirituality is just being who you are with authenticity and consciousness and intention. And so we need to know how to do that within the human confines. So I've basically spent my entire life since literally a young child, because I was fortunate enough to be raised this way, helping people to reconnect to who they really are. So I do that in a whole slew of ways: writing, speaking, coaching, consulting, teaching, training, healing, all that good stuff, because to me, it's not work. It's a way of life.
That's fantastic. You know, I really feel that when we reconnect ourselves with who we are, we understand that we come to this life for a reason. Right? Yeah. We have a purpose here. Then every choice we make, every decision, every fork on the road, we look at those moments from a completely different perspective. We look at how does that align with my purpose on earth, and how can I be who I'm really meant to be, not to satisfy other structures and conformatives, but be who I'm supposed to be and do what I'm supposed to do from a bigger picture perspective. And I love that because I think that we waste our lives when we just think about, oh, we're here to have fun, we're here to eat, and we're here to party, and then life passes us by and we feel empty, right? But when we live a life with purpose, it's a whole different ballgame. So tell us about, let's go into it. Let's talk about what does it mean to live a life spiritually aligned?
Yeah. So spiritual alignment is a title and a method that I kind of pieced together and came up with throughout all these years of my own personal work, as well as helping others to align with who they really are. And really, it's exactly what you're talking about. It's, we all grow up, no matter where we're at in the world, what our culture is, what our, belief system, spiritual, religious, whatever, it impacts us. And there's kind of like this unspoken rule that you have to grow up into becoming a certain type of person that fits the norm. And unfortunately, the norm doesn't always serve those most natural, authentic parts of who we are. So, like you said, you kind of get into life thinking that it's one thing, going through the motions, just go out, have fun, go to work, come home, eat dinner, go to sleep, go to bed, wake up, do it all over again. But without that purpose and meaning, which is another way of saying, like, without that consciousness and intentionality, that ability to be an active participant, or as I call, conscious co-creator in the game of life, then, eventually you're going to get burnt out in the human experience and find yourself wanting to add in some of that meaning. So spiritual alignment is really the blending of your human self, because we all have our human selves, whether you call that your ego or how you were raised, or, your environmental influences. And then you have your spiritual self, which is, like divine essence, pure positive energy, consciousness, divinity. You can use all sorts of language, whatever suits you around that, but essentially it's more than what we see. It's more than just, this 3D world and everyday human life, go to bed, get up, do it all over again. And so, I've noticed, since I've been exposed to spirituality, for anywhere from like really low key stuff to like the super woo woo stuff, my whole life, I found this kind of happy medium of like, all right, it's a lot of people are trying to strive to ascend or become this enlightened being, overcome the human experience. And yet I don't know that I want to do that. I would love to have the consciousness and the embracing of my humanity as well. So spiritual alignment became about that, not one or the other, but the merging of the two, blending your spirituality with your humanity so that you can actually enjoy life and all of its creature comforts, its human aspects, as you contribute to the world and the elevating of our collective consciousness, making the world a better place. That's where the purpose and the meaning comes in. But you're there, you're present, you're showing up. You know why you're doing what you're doing. You're doing it because you want to do it. And you're not just going through the motions or fulfilling some role that has nothing to do with who you wanted to be or who you see yourself as. So it's a method and a process that helps you embrace your human aspects and use it to get to those greater expressions of your spirituality, your divinity, your service, your contribution. And it also entails anywhere from neurology to, neuroscience to energetics, metaphysics, based on the principle that everything is energy. Most schools of thought and scientific systems acknowledge that truth. So we're getting into things now in the world where that's kind of becoming more widely accepted. Now we just need to know what to do with that. And that's where spiritual alignment comes in.
I love everything that has to do with energy. I really believe it. Think and Grow Rich and all of those books, I devour them because I really believe, I've seen with my eyes, that the energy that I put out is the energy that I get back. Even with small things like the way I interact with my pet. My dog knows, if he feels my energy when I come into the house, and if I'm up and excited, the dog is thriving, jumping, and then if I am more down, the dog comes to me in a more like, quiet and touching me, like to help me, but not in that excitement, full of excitement behavior. And so I see that it could be pets, it could be your children, your friends. People react to that energy that we put out. And it's not just the smile and the words that we use. There is something that emanates from us, depending on how we feel, our thoughts. We're not conscious that when we're thinking positive thoughts, how it creates this great energy around us, that aura of positivity, as opposed to when we're negative, and we emanate that. Now, not to say, and I always talk about it, and I say it doesn't mean that we're not supposed to not be happy. Like, it's so, being sad is a feeling that we're entitled to feel when we experience loss. There is a time for sadness. There is even a time for anger and disappointment. We need to go through those motions, through those feelings, through those periods in our lives, to learn something, to be challenged, to become better people, to grow as humans, right? Not every test is going to make us feel comfortable and bubbly. I don't think that that's what this positive energy that we want to bring to the world. It doesn't mean that it invalidates the moments of sadness. It is just that we know how much time are we going to spend in that sad place? How are we going to talk to ourselves when we are in that sad place? And there is a time to grieve, and then there is a time to rejoice and learn from that grieving period that we went through, and then do something good with it. And I literally am telling you from my personal experience, every moment in my life that created sadness, that it was difficult, that there were those challenges, they were opportunities for me to then take those situations and bring goodness into the world. If I chose to share it, could be just with one friend, could be online with a community. But if we use our experiences to help other people, we take that sad and difficult periods of our lives, and then we change the energy, right, into something good. How do you feel about that?
Yeah. I'm like trying to remain, like keep my composure as you're talking, because one of the things that I often speak to is that a lot of the spiritual development and consciousness and law of attraction, all that kind of stuff, those circles, they don't acknowledge the very human side of what you're speaking about. That, you know what? We are going to feel sad. We are going to grieve. We are going to have days where we're in a bad mood, or we react. God forbid we react to something crappy that happens. And there's like this, there became this unspoken rule, or actually not unspoken, it was very much so spoken, that, you know, with a positive thought movement, you must think positively all the time. And if you have a dreaded human emotion, A, shame on you, and B, you're going to attract more of that. So you're really screwing up royally in this moment. So, you know, you better figure it out. When in actuality, energy is about the ebb and the flow, the yin and the yang, the up and the down. We're beings of duality. We're spiritual and we're human. You know, we're of the flesh and we're energy. So it's like you're saying, it's to use those aspects of duality that we might call unwanted or unpleasant. Like, nobody wants to grieve or be sad or mad or angry or hurt or resentful or frustrated. But to use those experiences for the purpose for which they're intended, which is to decide and declare, express, and experience who we really are. Now, that's not my quote. That comes from Conversations with God material by Neil Donald Walsh, if anybody's familiar with that. But it's what I largely base my work in, is the concepts from that material, because it's all about what we're talking about. Embrace it all and decide who you want to be in relation to it. Learn from your experiences, take them forward, turn them into something good, and take the time to feel your humanity, because that's how you become that next highest version of yourself. And that's how you heal. You allow yourself to feel it, to be in it, and therefore move that energy, rather than just suppressing it by slapping a positive word band-aid over the top of it.
So I think that this is the perfect time for me to tell you about Kenzugi. Now, my followers by now, those who listen to me know what Kenzugi is. But when we spoke just before the show, I asked you if you knew what it was, and you didn't. So I wanted to talk because it has to do exactly with what you just said. Kintsugi in Japanese culture is when pottery breaks, they don't throw the pieces out. They mend the pottery with lacquer and gold, and they emphasize where the breaks were with the gold, and makes the dish more expensive, more valuable, and more beautiful than before. A pot that falls, the before it was broken, maybe it was a $5 mug. After it was fixed in Kenzugi style, it could cost hundreds of dollars, depending on how many breaks, even thousands. And it teaches us that we shouldn't be ashamed of our scars, that our scars is really what makes us so beautiful if we mend them properly, if we do the work, if we do the proper work, we become stronger individuals because we mended them properly. And when I went through a very difficult time in my life about 9 years ago or so, and when I saw a video that explained what the Japanese art of kintsugi was, which is, I'm going to show you guys, I have it this year. This is an example. What happened was that I suddenly realized that I could become whole again. I would be different, but I could be more valuable because I could use the lessons that I learned from my life to teach others. In essence, I realized that my breaks, I can be embarrassed about and ashamed about my breaks and whatever it is that, made me feel sad and devastated, and for a period of time didn't know how to proceed on living. But I could take that as a challenge, right? To heal, to mend, to put my pieces back together, and then I would have an opportunity to become a source of inspiration and empowerment to other people to do the same thing. And that gave me purpose. And that changed. When I saw that, I suddenly went from, wow, poor Miriam, she's going through such a hard time. Wow, Miriam is going through such a hard time, but she will be able to help people because of this experience. So let me learn how to put these pieces together in the most beautiful and obvious ways. I don't want to hide, and I don't want to be ashamed of what I went through. I want to be a beacon of light to help others, right? To heal. So when you were talking about that we need to go through these experiences, it's part of humanity to go through these experiences and not just, to slap it on with a positive. No, you need to spend time to mend. And it's not a time that you hide away from humanity. The opposite. You need a community, you need people, you need friends, you need people to give you the resources that you don't have today, so you will have tomorrow to help somebody else. And the process of kintsugi, I created a course. Because my husband got very sick, I never started selling it. God willing, I will in the next few months. But I did a kintsugi piece with the students who will take the course. And I showed it to them that the physical art takes time. It's a process that you feel, you need resources, you need help. And that's how it is with healing in life and growth, right? It's not always that somebody did to you, or, it's just growth in any area of life. It's a spiritual experience. Because if you focus your growth, right, just in the humanity part, and you don't have that duality that you spoke about, you can never completely fix yourself.
Absolutely. And wow. So I have heard of that concept. I did not know what the name was. And that is so, so beautiful, isn't it? I love how you pieced that together. Your course is going to be amazing.
Thank you. Tell us about some tactics that you teach in your memberships, with your lectures, on how somebody who's starting this process of trying to live a little bit more of a spiritual life, what give us an idea of an overview of the thoughts, because I think that a lot of the spirituality is how we manipulate our thoughts throughout our days, throughout our experiences, right? It's all in the brain, how we redirect certain thoughts and see things a certain way. But correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, you know a lot more than me on that.
So yeah, the kicker with the whole positive thought movement and the awareness that everything is energy, thoughts are creative, thoughts are energy, is that we have over 60,000 thoughts in a day. I have no idea how they measure that, by the way. And I can't even cite my source, but it's kind of a common knowledge. And who cares what the actual number is? That's a lot of thoughts. Let's all agree that we are constantly, especially if you're a woman, thinking and analyzing and rehashing and thinking. And that's why half of the people can't fall asleep at night, because they're replaying everything from their day and worrying about tomorrow. And if thoughts are creative, that's a lot of energy that we're throwing around out there. And then add in this whole concept of, well, just think positively and you can, create the life of your dreams, which is true. I'll get to that. It's not about monitoring every single thought you have. That's impossible. I've been doing this work very consciously and consistently for well over a decade, and I will never come close to accounting for more than a fraction of my thoughts. But the good news is it only requires you accounting for a fraction of your focus and your thoughts, and learning how to sort of move with them and manage them and discern and focus them just a little bit. That can go a long way. So one of the very first things that I teach, and when I was doing primarily one-on-one client work, it was a requirement. I would not work with a client unless they were willing to trust me, to hold my hand and take this leap of faith with me and engage in a set of daily alignment habits. And the reason for that is because that's what I did years ago, back in 2011, when, like I said, I've been on this conscious spiritual path my entire life. I was raised this way. So, that's just kind of what I was exposed to. So I had a lot of these pieces of the puzzle. I had these bits and these glimpses of understandings and aha moments and resonance and all that jazz. But I had no idea what to do with it, to put it all together in a cohesive manner. At the time, I didn't even know like the language to say, I have all these thoughts and I don't know how to focus them. I have all these emotions and these big feelings and I don't know what to do with them consciously. We don't know because we were never taught. So having a daily alignment practice, when I need to backtrack. When I got to a point of like, okay, enough is enough, something has to change. And for me, the pain was I had just started my coaching practice. I knew it wasn't a matter of if I would succeed in helping and being a source of light and love in the world. It was a matter of when and how and what that looked like. So I had a lot of faith going in, but for the first 4 to 5 years of my business, I was a talented, intuitive, well-trained coach with no clients or little to no clients. And the clients I had were not paying me. So I had that pain of, the topic of money and all that comes with it. For me, I was also newly married. I had a young child and I wasn't contributing financially, even though I was working my butt off. So my breaking point came, my point of surrender came, and wouldn't you know it, the universe placed me in the path of somebody who could teach me this stuff. And it was a coach that I hired for a lot of money I didn't have. I took the leap of faith with him at the time, and best thing I ever did, because first and foremost, he put me on a set of daily alignment habits. And he said, do these every day without fail. If you don't do them, I will fire you and keep your money. Harsh, right? And it's what I needed at the time. I needed something to hold me accountable and keep me focused. I know that's not what everybody needs, but it's what I needed. And in terms of focusing your energy and managing even a sliver of those thoughts and emotions that are creative each and every day, having that kind of consistency and commitment, accountability, discipline is pure magic. Those are the key ingredients. So you have to put a form to them, and daily alignment practices, which really, they feel good to do them. The whole point of it is to train your vibration and rewire your neurology so that you're actually moving and gaining headway and momentum in the direction you say you want to go. It's what helps you follow through with and achieve your goals. It's what allows in the magic, the miracles, the synchronicity, the serendipity to just find you and have things fall into your lap. So, that's largely what my book is about, is outlining all of this stuff because I had such magic and such success with it in such a short period of time. Went on to do this with a lot of clients and found consistent results. So that's why I was like, okay, this is a no-brainer. All my clients have to do this, or otherwise I'm not going to work with them, because it's for their highest good. And it's the most fun for me. I want to have fun doing my work. So I know the magic of this. I'm not saying it's the only way, but it's a way that works. So let's do this. And what ends up happening is, as you're engaging in these daily practices, so for example, one of them is daily gratitudes, practicing feeling good and appreciative every day. That's it. That's all it is. I mean, there's a structure for it, but you're training yourself to tune into and focus on the best parts of life. That is, in essence, utilizing that positive thinking energy, which I mentioned a minute ago. It is a thing. It does work. It's just that how it's thus been introduced, it's been introduced into the world thus far, has left out the human part, the duality part, the fact that our negative thoughts and emotions are part of the process too, the creative process that is. But the gratitudes, doing that every day, you are literally training yourself to be responsive to life rather than reactive. You're training yourself into a state of conscious alignment with who you are every single day. And the rest of the habits do that too.
Right. So
So, yeah.
no, I love it. I have my morning routine that I do every day, and part of it is my gratitude journal, and I talk about that in my course, that I don't allow myself to think for anything big. I'm not allowed to say thank you for my vision, thank you for walking, thank you for waking up in the morning, because what happens is that I noticed that when I was doing that, I would just say it quickly, almost like reciting like something that I memorized. But if I had to find small things that happened to me the previous day or the previous hours during the day, I would have to be conscious, paying attention throughout my day so that I would have what to think the next day. So instead of just the process of being grateful for me became something that happened the entire day, because I have to focus every day throughout the entire day so that I will have 5 or 10 items to mention the next morning. So my act of gratitude, living in gratitude, it's not just being grateful the 5 or 10 minutes in the morning when I'm doing my morning journal, my gratitude. It is really living in gratitude and looking for those miracles. And I'm telling you, I started noticing real miracles because I was looking for them, right? I was in search and I was finding. And I'll tell you, because you spoke about the more you do these things, the more you live in a spiritual alignment, you start seeing miracles in your life. And it happened to me this week, something so crazy that I'm going to share with everybody here. It was exactly what you're talking about. It's this kind of miracles. So I am going through a summer cleaning because spring is over, but I'm going through my closets and I'm decluttering, and I want to have less. I'm in this period of my life that I want less. I'm feeling heavy, not just from because I gained so much weight, but I'm feeling a heaviness from the stuff that's around me. So I'm going through closets and I'm giving away. And we have a very big library of Jewish books, and a lot of them there were repeats, multiple books. There were the same books. Some books were from my kids' school that my husband wasn't going to learn them. And I said to him, how about if we take everything that you know you'll never touch, let's put it on the coffee table, and let's find, a home for them. We'll gift it to somebody who could use them. So we worked for about an hour, and literally I must have had 100 books, because we have a big library. So we must have had 100 books. All the coffee table, sofa, love seat, tons of books. So I called one person, another person. They came, they chose what they wanted. And 2 days ago, I tell my husband, how wonderful would it be if there was one person that had a school or a synagogue or somebody that would take all of them. Because to give a few, every few, it's going to be really hard. It's going to take us a long time to get rid of it. In this purging, I put a table in front of my garage door, and every day I'm putting stuff on this table, and I'm writing in my community WhatsApp group, free this, come pick it up, free clothes, free. People are going, right? And they're picking up from that garage, like that table in front of the garage. I was putting stuff there, and a woman passed and stopped. I live where there's no traffic. The only people who come to this street, it's like a circle, it's the people who live here. She stops the car and she asks me, "Hi, are you having a garage sale?" And I said, "You can come and take whatever you want. Everything is free." She tells me, "Oh my God, I'll pay you." I said, "No, I don't want money. I want you to enjoy it. I want to give it to you." She steps out of her car and she says to me like that, "Do you happen to have any Judaica, any Jewish books?" I said, "Yes, they're inside because I didn't want them to get, from the weather. I didn't want to put them outside." She said, "Can I take all the English books? And can I take all the Hebrew books? Because my rabbi is starting a school and he could use all of these books." This woman, I live in Boca. This woman lives in Hollywood. I've never seen her in my life. She has never been on that street. She said, "Somebody asked me to deliver something here, so I delivered." I walked out of my door to put something there, to give to others as gifts. And she stopped her car and she asked me, "Do you have these types of books?" It was insanity. And she took in one swoosh, she took everything. My husband is like blown away because I had just said it. How wonderful would it be if I could have one person to come and take everything?
That's incredible.
That,
That is incredible. Yeah, it's the stuff of miracles.
that is miracles that people, they don't realize that those are miracles that are happening. This is God telling you, "I'm hearing you. I'm listening to you." And everybody, my husband, my kids were saying, "Mom, you need to pray for this, you need to pray for that," because God listens to what you're saying.
Yeah. So let me comment on that, because one of the other daily alignment practices is something called powerful questions.
Uh-huh.
And an example of that is what if what if one person came and took all the books just like that? That's a powerful question. And the essence of a powerful question is actually kind of similar to a prayer. It's making a request to God, to source, the universe, whatever your language is around that. It's a declaration of what you want, what you're asking for, what you're desiring. But because you said that and sort of like, "Oh, wouldn't it be great? What if somebody just came and grabbed them?" You did so in the energy, the vibration of joyful expectation. And then you went about your business, still doing everything. You kind of forgot about it. And God answered your prayer, or the universe, or again, whatever your language is around that, came in and answered it for you, brought in the how, the person, the cooperative component to come and take that off your hands. So the reason why I have that as a daily practice, which didn't originate with me, it was one of the ones I was put on all those years ago, is because I always believed that, we're in partnership with the divine. We're in partnership with the universe, with, your angels, your guides, whatever. We're not doing this alone. And we've so often heard that the how is not up to us. Our job as humans is to know what we want, do our best to show up and, be conscious and intentional and live out our values, do good, that sort of thing. But the details of life and really allowing those miracles, magic, and manifestations to come through, those details are not human details. Those are divine details, right? The how is not up to us. So by practicing posing powerful questions every day, I practice, and I have my clients and members practice 5 powerful questions a day as a daily practice, that they just have to feel good in the asking of them. They have to be positively posed, right? So what if somebody came and took them all off my hands just like that? How great would that be? They kind of have to give you that feeling of joyful, positive expectation or relief or just feels good. And then the third key is you don't answer it. Don't try to answer it. Don't try to figure out the how. What you're actually doing, even if you're somebody who doesn't believe in any of this energy stuff or law of attraction or conscious creation, even if that's not your jam at all, what you're doing on a daily basis is you are rewiring your neurology and your perception, your perspective to expect the answer to come, to catch it, to make your brain work at a higher functioning capacity to access those resources that are always there. We're just usually too stressed out and overwhelmed to see what's right in front of our faces. So just
Wow.
asking the right questions can bring in so much goodness in your life. And you just
Can
gave us
you
a
give us a
fantastic
few,
example of that.
like, I didn't know, but
I
can you
know.
can you give us a few examples of questions, like positive questions?
Yeah, yeah. And I included a whole example in the appendix of my book because it does help to get, your creative
Started.
juices going. But it can be feeling oriented, like how much love can I stand today? How can I show up as the highest version of me? What if it were completely comfortable at this family gathering for me? How at ease can I be?
Wow.
What if I mended the rift between my sibling and I? How can I express and live unconditional love more often? To very practical questions like, who is my next ideal client? What if my new course I'm offering got filled right away? Things like that, because you're directing the flow of energy and you're handing the how of it over and getting out of the way so you're not self-sabotaging and you're just over there practicing your gratitudes, feeling good so that you can catch the signs, the signals, the resources, the answers when they do come.
I'm blown away. You completely changed my morning routine because I'm gonna add
Oh,
that in. I'm excited
good.
about it. I'm really
Yes.
excited about it. Those questions are important.
They really are. And out of all the daily practices, this one tends to be the favorite because you do start to see the magic almost right away, if not right away. And you start to feel better. You start to train yourself to quit obsessing over the little things, the details, and being a control freak. Most of us are control freaks, right? We like predictability and certainty, right? So it's and especially now living in a world where we don't have very much predictability or certainty and things are changing rapidly. What a great habit to instill to get you to relax more and remember that it's not just up to you. You're not doing this alone.
Right. Next day, this coming Sunday, I'm going to be interviewing my husband, which
Mhm.
is like, I'm a little worried about it. My husband, he doesn't have social media. He has never done a video in his life, an interview. He's like a super introvert. And he just went through a major medical procedure. But throughout the entire time, he was always very calm. I was the mad, crazy, nuts, stressed out in every aspect from the whole situation. And we went to the beach a day or two ago and we were walking. And I said to him, how did you manage to stay? Was it like, I wanted to figure out if a lot of it was him just making an effort. But he truly felt, I'm not alone. Somebody's taking care of me. There is a real reason for me to be going through that. I just need to go through that. I'm being taken, you know? And if I know that I'm not alone and that there is purpose for this throughout for this whole thing, then I'm just a spectator, Yeah, it hurts this and it's difficult with that, but I'm confident that I'm not alone. And really change his experience and my experience from this whole season that have been going through are so completely different. It is very interesting to see how we reacted. Obviously, he is the patient and I'm the caregiver, but still completely different experiences based more on that spiritual alignment. Even though I consider myself very spiritual, there's no comparison between me and him. But it shows in how you react to everything. It shows in the reaction to the situation.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I can totally relate. I always tell people that my husband is one of those people who he was never spiritual when we met. He wasn't into any of this stuff. I'm surprised I didn't scare him away right away, telling him about my beliefs and different aspects of who I am and my experience. And I work hard at this stuff. Like I live, eat, sleep, breathe my spirituality and my beliefs 24/7. He just shows up and like lives it and doesn't try, and that's super annoying. I'm happy for him, but it is, and the difference is, even though he never had this really strong belief system, there's something in there that's it's that calmness, and that it's that inner sense that, what, everything's going to be okay. It always works out. He has this belief that life is always working for us, not against us, and you just got to participate. He might not ever use those words, but I've been watching him for the past however many years, 16 years. And that's definitely one of those common denominators there with people like that.
So interesting how some people have that innately and
Mm-hmm.
others have to work so hard for it.
Right.
Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about some students of yours or client, a story that really stuck with you from a transformation, somebody who wasn't spiritually aligned, and when they became, how their lives changed. Because we always want to see, right? We want to see proof. We want to see that person that lost weight. And then we say, oh, how did you, now I see that it worked, and now I want to do it. But do you have a story that you can share?
Oh, so many.
It could be
Do I have
yours.
one I can pull out of my head right now? Well, I can start by sharing mine. But going back to the part where I hired the coach because I wasn't succeeding in business to my definition of success, which really was bare minimum. I just wanted to make money doing what I loved and helping people. As soon as I started doing these daily practices, I had taken a break from my no clients, but from like the actual trying to build a practice. And I was just focusing on my inner growth and trying to get these pieces together and focused. And within the first few months of so first it's an internal transformation. So that's what I like to tell people. You're probably going to see a lot of cool synchronicities and serendipities and things out there. But in terms of the biggies of, love, money, health, all that kind of stuff, that we seem to value the most, you're going to notice an internal transformation there, a perspective shift, shedding old beliefs that don't serve you and replacing them with ones that do. As simple as, it is possible to have a thriving coaching practice and earn good money while helping people. And it's totally okay to want that. Those were some of the beliefs that I was working with back then. Mm-hmm. And within maybe 4 or 5 months, the clients the floodgates opened. And it probably would have happened sooner if I felt that impulse to actually take the action, but I was just enjoying the inner transformation and everything was working out for me anyway, that I didn't have that sense of urgency of, okay, build the practice, get the, that was actually holding me back a bit, that urgency. So I went basically in under 6 months from 0 clients to a thriving full practice. And I have not looked back since. It's only grown. It's led me to, one of the things I posed a powerful question about one day was, what if I didn't have to market? A lot of entrepreneurs out there will relate to this. What if I didn't have to do the salesy networking marketing thing, which I actually enjoy marketing now because it's authentic relationship building marketing. But back then I thought I had to do it that really icky way. What if I didn't have to do that? What if I just had clients find me? Literally a month later, I found myself in a studio with the author Neil Donald Walsh, who I mentioned earlier. He's the author of the Conversations with God material, 33 times over best-selling author. If you're in the spiritual arena, you've likely heard of him. I read his book when I was 14 years old. This guy was, unbeknownst to him, my mentor. I built my life around those messages. I found myself through a series of serendipitous events shortly after I posed that question in a studio with him in Ashland, Oregon. And he said, "You know what, Nova, a coaching spot just opened up on my team. Would you like it?" And I was like, "Okay, be cool, be cool. Yes, please." And then all of a sudden I'm working on his team, the Conversations with God Foundation, and I don't have to market for clients. That became my funnel. There's no shortage of people out there who want to put those messages into practice. So my powerful question, my prayer, was answered by me showing up and practicing managing my vibration, getting into a state of alignment, of vibrational alignment, raising my vibration, moving forward with faith and optimism and authenticity and a full heart and open mind, and the universe provided. With my clients, oh my God, there's been so many stories, from anywhere from somebody who didn't think they could get pregnant. They started taking the focus off of, I can't get pregnant. That's the lack, right? That's the belief that it's not possible because doctors told her and she hadn't been pregnant yet. And I don't remember how many months it took exactly. It wasn't long. It wasn't a full year. But through practicing gratitude and breaking through those perceived impossibilities and improbabilities through powerful questions, through managing our human thoughts and emotions just by journaling daily, that's another daily habit. She got pregnant, and I think she has like 4 kids now. And she was told that she couldn't have kids back then. Anywhere from that to other thriving businesses, to starting with somebody right smack dab in the middle of a separation and divorce, which then led to the divorce going a lot smoother and finding the love of their life after that. I mean, the examples are endless.
This is fantastic. I so believe in that. The whole question thing, my brain, I always say that I have a sparkling brain because it's bubbling, it's always working, like those a million thoughts. I can sense them brewing, and I'm already want to take a piece of paper and write those questions because I have those questions, but I want to bring them to the world. You just touched about journaling, and I have done a few shows about writing for healing. And one of the shows was writing for healing. I brought some people that spoke about it. I wrote a book, Heal with Gold. It was part of my journaling, and I did a research asking women who were thrivers how they healed from their experiences, how they became thrivers. There were women that had gone through really, really, some of them horrible, tragic, traumatic experiences, and they were thriving, and I wanted to know how. And I wanted to know if there was something in common between the women. And I wanted to know if it could be learned. So for 2 years, I did this research. And when I was going to write the book, and I was writing their stories, but I was also documenting the things that I learned from each woman, that the 3 things that was the most incredible about their experiences. When I went to write a book, I thought I was going to write about that, but I ended up writing about, I saw a commonality between all the women. And by the way, it's what you're talking about. It's really that. Those women, they were journaling. They believed in a higher power. They were practicing gratitude. They found a community so they weren't feeling alone. They created structure for their healing, time for their healing. And they very methodically went through that process. So that's why I ended up writing. But I noticed that when I write, there is an automatic healing that happens. And one thing that I started to do is that every time that I'm angry, and I'm angry with somebody because somebody did something or reacted in some way that upset me, I don't respond to that person, but I write an email to that person, but I put my email address. So the email comes to me, but I'm writing as if I'm writing to that person. And what I've noticed is that when I go back to read that email, I usually find that the email is not nice. Like I was very open. about how I felt. And but once I wrote it down, it's off my chest. I'm not upset anymore. I am not upset with that person, as if I told them what I wanted to tell them. No difference. And when I read it, I said I wouldn't have been proud of myself if I had said those things. So I'm so
Mhm.
happy that I don't react, but at the same time, the anger is gone, even though I didn't have to confront that person. So writing, you don't have to write a book, but journaling, writing your feelings. If you're upset with somebody and just write in your journal, I'm upset with this person because of this and that and that, it's huge. Talking about that alignment, right? Talking about refocusing on goodness, on joy, raising your vibration.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And, there's a couple components that go into journaling. People hear that and they're like, really? Journaling? Just that? It's not just that, because what you're actually doing is you're when you write those emails that you never send or you just send to yourself, you're actually allowing the energy that you're feeling, the emotions are energy in motion. You're
Mhm.
allowing those emotions to move through you. If you didn't give it an outlet, and it doesn't always just have to be writing, it can be, exercising or crying or sleeping on it. There's different ways to do it, but the beauty of journaling is that you're naming your feelings as you're moving the energy. That's what people do in therapy. You bring consciousness to what you're feeling, because then you're taking it out of the deep dark shadows and the nooks and crannies of your beingness, your energetic body, your physical body, because we know that, when you keep that repressed, suppressed, pent up negative emotion, it will get physically expressed. You're giving it a safe place to go. You're connecting the dots. You're making it conscious so that you can take that learning forward, and you're flowing your energy in a way that allows you to continue forward versus staying in it longer than you have to. So one of the things that especially my clients who were more worried about having the law of attraction, like attracts like, come and bite them in the ass, if they were to focus on a negative thought, God forbid. They were afraid to journal, because I would say, if you had a bad day, if you're processing something that, the emotion is so big that you can't pivot from it, you can't just sit and focus on gratitude for a while, that means you have to dive into it. You have to give that energy a place to go. Then journal about it, write about it. You're going to be amazed by the things that you name, and it's a safe place. You can be the not nice person, the version of yourself that you hope you don't have to, it doesn't come to that. And it's a really healthy thing. They're like, yeah, but the law of attraction, then it's just going to call more of that to me. Like, no, that's not how it works. How it works is, if you're actually managing your thoughts and emotions in a very healthy, proactive way, such as journaling, such as therapy, such as coaching, you're giving it consciousness. You're bringing these things that need to be healed and released out into the light of day so it can come up and out of you. And then you move forward. If you don't take the time to do that, then that's where you're rehashing that emotion, that thought, that story. You're beating that drum. You're practicing that vibration. And that's when you're attracting more of it into your life. So it really comes down to something you said quite brilliantly and way more simply than I just did now in the beginning of this conversation is, you just don't stay there. Feel the feelings, process it, but then don't stay there. Move on, use it, take it forward in some healthy, constructive way, but don't stay there longer than you have to. And
Exactly.
journaling is one of the most effective and simple ways I know to do all of that and simultaneously build this connection, this bond with yourself, self-love, self-worth, self-confidence, because you are showing up. It's like having coffee with your best friend every day and telling them what's going on. You're doing that with yourself. And how do you feel about your best friend when they sit and listen to you and hold the space for you? You love them even more. So journaling also acts in that capacity as well. It's really quite profound.
Absolutely. I just want to take a question here, but then afterwards, I
Mhm.
want to talk to you for a few minutes about conversations with God. So, Marina is asking, is it better just to sit down with the person that upset you and have a conversation about it? I'm going to tell you my feeling about it, and then Nova, you can tell me about it. It is always good to hash the problems out. But so often, when we are upset, is not the right time because we always end up saying something that, and the other person becomes defensive and it goes nowhere. I think that with a spouse, with a sibling, with a family member, with a good friend, it's always good after you calm down. The journaling comes before. You let all that negative energy out, and then you can have a productive conversation about it without those impulsive emotions. And then sometimes I learned in my life that it's better not to go there. I remember that I used to, when it came out to school and parents and children, if I wanted to stand up for my kid, then the parent of the other kid would defend to death their kid. It didn't matter if their kid bit my kid, you know. It became very emotional for the person. So I think it really depends on the situation. Sometimes there's just people that are not going to be convinced. That's my opinion. What do you say, Nava?
I agree with you 100%. And it really does come down to discernment. So your approach isn't always going to be the most appropriate thing for every single situation. So, however, having said that, it's always going to behoove you to take a step back. I call it hit that pause button, remove yourself from the energy where the problem exists, and get clear, get aligned, get into alignment, and then have the conversation. Because not only is that going to help flow the right energy in that direction, it's going to help them be more receptive and less defensive. It's going to help you access the right words and the right energy that you're coming from to convey, to speak your truth versus just having it be a big old fight and argument that's not very productive.
Right.
Now, I said, so that's, that's the goal. Because we are spiritual beings having a human experience, it's not always possible, right? And sometimes it's actually quite productive to have those explosive conversations. And I'm not sure any experts out there will say this on camera, but I have found that sometimes that if you're practicing alignment and you're managing your thoughts and emotions regularly, and you do have an explosive conversation where you didn't hit that pause button, maybe you had the intention to, but you just ended up like, rah, 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 jumping down their throat, it's probably needed to shake it up. It's probably needed to get their attention to say, like, hey, oh, this is a problem. Maybe they wouldn't be receptive to the calm, collected conversation anyway. So, I never strive to do that, but I never beat myself up when that does happen because sometimes it is productive. But getting into alignment first is always going to be the thing that helps it go the smoothest. Even if that person reacts negatively to you, you will feel good about it. You will know you did the best you can, and the rest is out of your hands.
Right. I'm going to tell you, I have a question that I ask myself before situations like that and before many, many situations. And I talk a lot about that in my course. And the question is, do I want to be happy or do I want to be right? What do I want at the end of the day? What do I want? And based on that, based on the answer to this question, when I ask this question, I get the answer. If I want to be happy, then I may just let this be because it's going to affect my happiness. It's not worth it. Sometimes being right, it doesn't work together with your happiness. So we don't always need to be right, but we want always to be happy. So we asked this question. I wanted to talk to you for the last 2 minutes that we have about conversations with God. Can you tell us a little bit about, I did not read the book. I guess I will read that book. Tell us a little bit about the program and the book and what this is all about.
Yeah, so Neil Donald Walsh wrote a book years ago. I think it was like in 1995 or something like that. I was 14 at the time. And he basically had a conversation with God that he wrote down and put into a book. Now, whether or not you believe it's an actual dialogue with God, meaning he asked God questions and God responded, it's actually irrelevant. It doesn't matter whether you believe that or not, because it's the content of it and how you feel as you read it, that matters, and how you can take it forward. I personally believe he did, because one of the biggest messages of Conversations with God is that we're all worthy. It's not to whom does God speak, it's to who listens. Who listens and deems themselves worthy enough, who recognizes that each of us is an extension of divinity. It's like, we're the fingers of God or the hands of God, the children of God. We're all, it's a drop in the ocean is not the ocean, it's part of the ocean. So, I mean, the concepts that are covered, it challenges some of those more limiting, perhaps dysfunctional aspects of some of our world's major religions that have actually led to more killing, more violence, more, poverty, all that kind of stuff. It really takes an in-depth look, but it's very open-minded. It's very, it's expansive, it's inclusive. If you haven't read it, and even if the title scares you, Conversations with God, some people it does. And I wouldn't let that stop you. Just read it and pay attention to what resonates with you. I read it at 14 and I was like, oh my God, I have the language now for everything that I'm thinking and feeling that I haven't been able to express.
I'm going to order them and I'm going to read it. I definitely have conversations with God often. Sometimes I tell him that I'm mad at him, but that's part of our relationship. We're connected, and then we're connected all the way.
Yeah, me too. I have spiritual tantrums all the time, and my God, or my cosmic team is what I call them: guides, angels, deceased loved ones, you name it. They don't have egos. They don't have human bruised egos. So they hold the space. They know we're just processing energy, and I think they all have a good sense of humor. So
I agree with that. I love it. I'm gonna order right now. What is the name of your book? Because I want to order that too.
Yeah, my book is called Awake and Aligned: How to Navigate the Human Experience as a Spiritual Being. And really, it takes everything that we've talked about today and more, basically everything I've taken my individual clients through in a 6-month coaching program or 12-month coaching program, and I put it in a book. I made it very conversational, anecdotal, that sort of thing, to help take those heady concepts and put it into practical application. There's a practical application exercise at the end of each chapter, to help people get after it. You don't have to hire, a super expensive coach, although I will say that's effective if they know what they're doing, to start that process of aligning with who you really are.
Fantastic. So, can I ask you a favor to put a post in the group with the link to your book? So whoever wants, I'm buying it because I'm curious. I want to know more about it. The whole questions, how we talked about those positive questions, blew me away. I'm gonna have to learn more about it because I want to do it the right way. It blew me away.
Yeah. Oh, good. And please do, and let me know your experience. I would love to hear it, because the miracles and magic that come of that habit alone, it never gets old. And all of the practices are outlined in the book. So I will absolutely drop the link there.
Fantastic. Guys, I want to thank you all for coming tonight. My pleasure. I want to remind you all that Sunday, I'm interviewing my husband, and we're going to talk about his health, what's the status, the journey, how we got to where we got, about his recovery, and we're going to talk about gratitude, and we're going to talk about this spiritual alignment, this surrendering and belief that he's not alone, and that's how he is overcoming this very difficult period of our lives. So I hope you'll join us. I hope you'll come and participate and ask questions, help the poor guy, because I'm making him do this with me, but he's happy. He's really happy, and he wants to be able to show his gratitude for all of the prayers, because we received so many. Thank you so much for tuning in, Nova. I'm so grateful. I hope that we can stay in touch for a long period of time.
Absolutely. Me too. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.